Welcome to Therapy is Dope with Alicia.
And Julie, let's make self help fun again. No, seriously, laughter is the best medicine.
Come and join us as we introduce new ways of thinking and being.
And hopefully get you laughing along the way. Hi, y'all. We are back.
And today's topic is what is it? Controlling people?
No, trying to change someone.
Oh, essentially the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Basic control, trying to change someone. Actually, that's a really good point that you just brought up. Can for the listeners that were like, no, control have nothing to do with trying to change someone, trying to like or trying to better the relationship. Some people just think, oh no, I'm if he or she was more a little bit more like this, the relationship would be better.
Yeah. And that may be true, but within a relationship, it's a very difficult practice in learning to accept what is.
Right. Because at the end of the day, you can't ever change someone. No?
No. And I remember hearing a lot when I was younger that love is accepting someone for who they are, flaws and all. And I didn't really understand that until, something like this comes along where, you know, you have to think about it is the relationship, am I happy with the relationship exactly the way it is? And if the answer is no, it's probably not the relationship for you.
And also, if you really think about it, when you're dating and you're just doing the first stages of dating and whatnot, and if that's hard, that's only 5% of the relationship. If that is hard, the rest of the 95 is going to be a dogfight. So you might as well go, hey, if the first year and we're struggling, I might be in a place where I'm like, am I trying to accept this person? And there's a couple of analogies that I want to share. So there's this one thought process when I'm dating somebody, I go, oh, this is not working out. It's because I think of myself, what's my state of mind right now? Right? Because I'm like, am I feeling like the deserted island feeling where you know how like if you're single for a little bit, you start feeling really lonely, your standards lower a little bit, and you feel like you're in a deserted island, you feel like there's I have no choice, and all the people you dated have been, like a douchebag after douchebag, or maybe a guy that just isn't living up to your standard. You just failed dates, so you're getting more and more desperate, almost, right, for lack of better words. And then somebody comes, and that person is just a hairline better than everybody else, or like just somehow it's like, wow, this person seems so much better, and then you just attach to this person. Then when you get off the desert island and you're bringing this person back to your regular life, you realize this is really hard. We are fighting a lot because those feelings of loneliness, you're kind of getting over those feelings, and you're reconnecting with your friends and family, you're reconnecting with your routine, and you realize this does not work. But you've already gone so far to meet all your friends and family. Then there's obligation to stay. So then maybe if I just change this person, things will be fine. But maybe at the end of the day, it never really was.
It's a really tough one because I would call that falling in love with the potential of someone, like, oh, this'll do, like I can work with this, I can make this one work. And
Ooh.
I think that unfortunately there's a degree of truth in the fact that women train men. And so because there's a degree of truth in that, we tend to look at men as projects, like, can I make this one work kind of thing.
Yes.
And sometimes I think we can. Sometimes I think we can, but it all depends on what the red flags are or what the problems are. And it gets hairy.
Do you Well, okay, now I feel like we're confusing people. So
I
you're
know.
saying you can change someone or you can't change someone.
I don't think you can change someone. Well, no.
I think you could influence
Yes.
someone. if that person decides to do it.
Right.
But let's say, okay, let's say for me, if we're in a relationship with somebody and I start going to a gym every day and I don't mention it to my partners, I'm just going to the gym, then my body started looking fire, right? And my partner goes, damn, I need to catch up or this girl's gonna leave me. And he gets influenced or motivated by my lifestyle and starts doing it. That could be an influence of change. I could see that. But I don't think if I went home and I said, we're working out together, we're going to go out, why don't you go to the gym? Get to the gym, go to the gym, start liking the gym. You're going to like it. I swear, go do it. Once your body starts changing, you're going to like it.
Yeah.
I don't think that works.
No. No. And that's where I think it gets hairy, because I think when I think about when I was younger, before Sebastian, I was like, I think I would be okay dating someone who's been divorced, because I feel like at least they have some training.
Right, okay.
And what I meant by that was, like, when you're in a relationship, there are certain things that are sort of standard.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time, generally speaking, obviously there's always exceptions to the rule. And sometimes we wonder, how have you ever been in a relationship? But usually, you become accustomed to thinking about another person, being considerate of another person, asking the other person what they'd like to do, compromise, and if you have kids, then you are trained in, like, how to change diapers and things like that. Like, there's a level of training sort of that occurs if
Yeah.
you've been in a relationship previously. But that's on a smaller level. And so changing who a person is, I don't think we can do at all. I think we can do some, like, minor changes to the way a person thinks or operates, but I don't think that we can change who a person is.
Mm. Yes. Maybe in that example when I used about the working out thing, maybe that person, if that person did change and want to start working out, maybe they wanted to do it for themselves anyway. So there wasn't a change. It was just bringing out that existing personality that was going to come out anyway or something.
That had the potential to come out anyway. Yeah, for sure. Because some people, they'll tell you straight up, I really don't like going to the gym. I really don't like working out. And that kind of person, you're not going to get them to like it.
Yeah. And it brings me back to this other analogy that I always try to tell people. And I only started telling people this because I started, like, shaking myself at one point and being like, Julie, you can't change them, because at the end of the day, you're so frustrated and that person still isn't changed. Like, you just create more frustration to yourself. And now I use this analogy and I try to remember this when I try to get into that controlling Julie version of me. And it says, and this analogy basically is, okay, so imagine you're going to a supermarket, right? And you want to go there and you said, I'm here at the market and I want to buy some clothes. And they go, no, you don't get clothes here. You buy food here. And instead you go, okay, instead of hearing the store manager or the owner of that market telling you we only sell food, you go, no, 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 but you could sell clothes. It's like, no, but we just sell food. And then you go to the store manager and you're convincing all the employees, hey, if you guys sell clothes here, you guys will make so much more. Your profit margin will be higher. You guys will have so much more, a variety of products to sell. You'll have more customers. I think you should try this. But at the end of the day, if they're telling you, hey, we're only going to sell food, stop trying to change their workflow and try to make them sell something else, because they're not there to do that. And in whatever reason, and in their own collection of experiences and traumas, got them to be comfortable with only selling food and not expanding to other customers or whatever to try to sell clothes. They're just going to do that. Just listen and say, okay, if I'm trying to make Ralph's or Albertsons or Publix sell clothes, it's like, who am I really stressing out? I'm just stressing out myself from trying to go to a market every day and tell them to do something that they're not gonna do.
You know what's funny about that? As you were telling that story, I was thinking of people in the upper socioeconomic status, because that sounds exactly like something that they would do. Like, people get, when they have a lot of money, they get really entitled, and they think that things should just go the way that they want them to go. And if it's not, they'll try to force it, kind of like the Karens of the world, you know? Um,
Mm,
well, then I need to speak to your manager. Okay, well, my manager is supporting me. My manager already said, like, this is how it is. Well, then I need to speak to his manager, you know? And it's like this weird sense of entitlement that people have sometimes. Um, but that's a totally different track. And coming back to exactly what you were just talking about, um, I think about, I started my career in addictions, and family members or loved ones or romantic partners of addicts often do this thing where they drive themselves crazy trying to control their partner and trying to get their partner to stop using. And so inevitably what happens, like, they express, hey, I don't like how much you drink, let's say. It makes me uncomfortable when that you get drunk all the time. And so then what does the addict do? They just start trying to hide it. And because they're drunk, they don't know that it's obvious that they've been drinking.
oh, yeah,
So
right, right.
they like, then they get sloppy because they're drunk. And so then, like, little minis start falling out of their purse or out of their pockets. And some of my clients have told me hilarious stories about how they would try to hide it in the garage. So they'd be out in the garage, and then they'd be so drunk they'd like pass out with the bottle in their hand. Or like they'd try to go in the bathroom and hide it in the toilet. And so they'd be in the bathroom like chugging liquor,
Oh,
trying to hide it. And meanwhile, there, everybody knows, like, you're not really hiding it. And so then it's another argument, because then they're like, no, I haven't. You haven't seen me drink anything. I haven't drank anything. And the partner or the spouse or the loved one, the family member, they'll drive themselves crazy and start looking all over the house, like, where are they keeping this? Like, where is it? Or
mm,
they'll search their car, or like they'll find, like, they might find a bottle and like pour it out, and that's their attempt of trying to control. But at the end of the day, they can never control these people. These people are going to do exactly what they want to do, and you as the individual have to make a choice. How much do I want this to impact my life? And I think it's the same way in a romantic relationship. Like, okay, how bad is this? How much of this can I tolerate? And how much am I willing to deal with this?
yeah. Are you gonna just go to the supermarket and accept, okay, I'm just gonna find food here? And if you want clothes, then maybe you should leave the supermarket and just go to, an H&M, uh, Zara's, something, Nordstrom, something that actually sells it, so you guys could fit, instead of trying to change something that doesn't fit and put a square peg in a round hole.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
but and I think it's also the acceptance of saying, yes, we're not meant to be together, but it has nothing to do with me and nothing to do with him. We just, because the we never say that the round hole or the square peg are less than or better than the other one. We don't say the square is better than the round or the round is better. No, they're just two different shapes. And if we see it all as equal, we're just two different shapes and we don't fit, that's okay. And instead of, oh, if I was a round peg, maybe he would accept me. Maybe she would accept me. But if you change to a round peg, will you be happy? Maybe the round hole
You
will accept you.
can, but it won't last.
Yeah. So if the round hole accepts you, what version are they accepting you? Your authentic version, or just this made up version that you want to be so you can make everything fine? So everything will be fine. But is that truly happy?
No. Um, that's how psychopaths are. They learn what it is that you want and they give you that until they're done with you. And then it's all over.
What? Wait, what are you talking about right now?
People with personality disorders, like antisocial personality disorder, is the same thing as a psychopath, or what is the other thing they used to call it? Sociopath. So those people in particular in the beginning want to learn as much about you as they possibly can, because whatever you tell them is what they're going to change themselves into. So if you say you're into church, they're going to start going to church. If you say you're into electronic dance music, they're going to be at every festival. If you say you love pets, they're going to adopt a dog.
Okay, so they do that with ulterior motive to try to kill you. I don't know, like get into your life and get you obsessed with them and codependency. What's the point of doing that?
They want you, and so they are going to have you.
Mm.
So they will do whatever they have to get you. They do the same thing with work. If there's a job they want, they will lie, they will manipulate, they will do whatever they have to do to get the job, and they'll get it. They'll get the job. They're very confident, very convincing, and they do whatever they have to do to appear worthy of the job.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll get the job, and then once they get in there, inevitably they won't like something about it and they'll just discard it. Just, okay, I'm done with you. And they do the same thing in their romantic relationships. Like, they become everything that you could ever imagine that you wanted, and then when they're done with you, see you later, I don't like you anymore.
How sad.
Yeah.
How sad for the person, because honestly, if I dated somebody and they just cherished me, like kissed the ground I walked on and I was the queen, I'd be like, oh, hell yeah, I'd do this all day.
Yeah, exactly, that's how they get you.
And then just drops you. How can you tell if he's in love with you versus a sociopath?
Yeah, now that's a deeper question, because narcissism operates similarly in the sense that they are going to do whatever they can to woo you in the beginning, and they call it love bombing. So in the beginning, they're like your perfect partner. They're everything you could ever want, or everything you ever thought you wanted. And then they have to secure you quickly. So narcissists like to advance the relationship quickly.
Mm.
And the reason is because they can't maintain the act for too long. They can't. It's too much work. So they've got to get their hooks in you, and then they can show their true colors. And the difference between the narcissist and the psychopath is that the narcissist is also afraid of losing you. So if they push you too far and you want to leave, they'll then do anything they can to get you back. The psychopath's like, there's another one of you around the corner. See you later. They don't
So it might
have as
be healthier to date a psychopath instead of a narcissist.
narcissists will ruin your life. A psychopath, I mean, as long as the psychopath doesn't kill you,
Okay.
they'll just really hurt you.
Let's
It'll
hope
just be a
we
painful breakup.
of like what are signs when it becomes unhealthy? Because that sounds like a beginning part of a relationship to me. Like when the
No.
person you start falling in love with the person and it's like love and it's sweet and whatever. How do you realize, hey, this seems unhealthy?
Well, I think there's a lot of different signs, but to be honest, I think this is how a lot of people get caught up, because it is very similar to the beginning of a relationship, in the sense that the research shows when we begin a relationship, we use all 5 love languages.
Mm-hmm.
And so once we get past the honeymoon stage, we don't use all 5 love languages anymore. We use the ones that we're most comfortable with. But in the beginning, we're using them all. Like, we're so excited, we're so infatuated, whatever. The novelty is there. So we're doing it all, doing the most, as they say.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the kids today. But as far as like the warning signs, it's like when people start saying creepy things to you, kind of like you're my soulmate, or I want to be with you forever, or maybe we should move in together. I'm calling it creepy because that's too fast. It's too soon to
Okay, I was
say
gonna say
things like that.
those don't sound creepy. Sounds sweet in certain
Yeah.
aspects. It can be. Let's move in together. Ew, creep. We've only been dating for 5 years.
No,
Like
well,
that's
5 years, they're not gonna last that long. You'll see who
um,
they are.
so okay. So a lot of times these unhealthy relationships, they try to speed it up. So if they're talking about I love you after a month, let's move in after a month, then those are signs of like, hey, this may be
Yes.
unhealthy.
Yeah.
Okay.
When they're like obsessed with you and they just tell you everything's so wonderful about you, we should kind of take those things with a grain of salt in the beginning, because it could be that they're just really infatuated with you and you are their person, or it could be that they're love bombing you. So, um, in an ideal world, we wouldn't be saying I love you for at least a few months, or we would be cautious about it, like, I really like you. Like, I just want to tell you I really like you. Like, we're hinting at it, but we're purposely not saying it.
Right. Okay.
And that's pretty normal. But if they're just like all about it and they want to say that all the time early on, do you? You don't even know me.
But it might not be a narcissist. It might actually be that deserted island analogy. It might be like he's been so lonely for a while, because I've had people say I love you very quickly, and they were a healthy person. They just were lonely for a long time. I felt like, or they were tired of dating, and they were so excited about meeting somebody that was normal, or somebody that was equal pace, or also same career, whatever it was, right? And then he was like, oh my god, this is such a relief. I really want this.
Yeah. Well, and that's another layer of why these things are so hairy, because uh, that's a whole other separate thing that goes on for people, where I think, a male client and I had this amazing discussion one day about how men sometimes go a very long time without being touched. And when they get any kind of attention, they just become so desperate for touch
Yeah.
and for affection that they become awkward. And then nobody wants to touch them because now they're awkward.
Yeah.
And so that then creates an even bigger problem for these people, because now they're definitely not getting touched. And going a long time without any kind of affection or relationship does impact us psychologically and behaviorally. And so, yes, sometimes that does influence us, and we're like, oh my God, this is amazing. You
Yeah.
know?
Because
Uh,
I know men and women, some of my friends or acquaintances and things like that, or stories I've heard where someone has moved in after literally moved in after their third date or something.
wow.
And I've known some couples that the guy's done that and crazy, whatever. And then another couple that I know that they've done that after yeah, the third day they moved in, and they're still together and they're great with each other. So I feel like that was just luck. Like, and you
Yeah,
don't know
that's
the person.
I,
It's crazy.
yeah, I don't know if you ever read the book He's Just Not That Into You.
Yeah. I don't know if I
That's
read the book, but yeah.
I read the book. And in the book, the thing that they keep saying, which I really appreciate because I feel like it's something that I say too, is that there's always exceptions to the rule. And the problem that we as human beings have, especially in romance, is that we always want to be the exception to the rule. We want to be the person that the playboy settles down with. We want to be the person that the uh arrogant whatever finally like falls in love with and can't like
Yeah.
live his life without.
Or the first, love at first sight situation, right?
Yes, we all want to be that exception to the rule, that story of your friend who they went on 3 dates and then they moved in together and they're super happy. Like, we all want that kind of story. And so we all like to think that we're going to be the exception to the rule, instead of looking at all the signs that are around us. But it's tough because the stories of people who are the exception to the rule are out there and we hear them and we're like, well, why couldn't it be me?
Yeah. No, but the thing is, I think people need to understand too, and I'm learning this as I'm actually speaking this now, but the we remember those stories because they are an anomaly.
Yeah.
We don't remember the stories where, oh no, the person dated for like, 5 years, got together, got married. But you don't tell those stories because everybody, or like a lot of people, date for a long time, settle down, meet each other's families, go slowly, da da da, did all this stuff and got married and had kids and are fine or whatever, right?
Mhm.
Like, why tell the story when everybody knows that story versus, hey, you want to hear something interesting? After
Yeah.
the date, this is what happened. But that, like, something that doesn't happen.
Yeah. And, you know, going back to our original topic, we want to force our storyline to be what we want it to be. And my mom used to tell me that I could fall in love with a dog. And I felt like I always saw so much potential in people. And that's what I looked at when I saw people. I wasn't necessarily looking at what they're doing right this minute. I looked at like, oh my God, you're capable of all of these things.
Right.
And
I, yeah, know exactly what you're talking about. I think it's because we're positive people.
yeah, yeah, I
Like,
think it's a curse of optimism. Damn it.
I, yeah, I really think it is. I think that knowing you, you're a really positive person. You like to, you give everybody the benefit of the doubt. And because of that, it's like, yeah, I could fall in with a love with a dog too. I literally could be like, oh, this guy could have a million things wrong with them, and that one thing that's good is like, and I would pay attention to that one thing. I'd be like, hey, that person did this, did it. So I'm a really bad person to hire people because I only I only hear good things. So it's like hired from stealing, and I'm like, I know, but he also said he was great at Excel. I care about hiring people. So it's like, don't ask me to do that because I'm so optimistic. Uh, yeah, I don't
You
know.
know, it's interesting because the research shows that optimists are happier, but they're also not as realistic.
Oh yeah, I absolutely agree.
Pessimists are more realistic.
Yeah, but then who cares? I mean, like, I'd rather choose happy and slightly off. Like, maybe she's like, oh, she that's not realistic, Julie. You have to do but I just like, why not? Why not let me, you know, like, skip around a little bit longer, or why not let me dream a little bit harder? Let
Yeah.
me flip that cloud a little longer. Who cares? What difference does it make? I
Yeah.
don't know.
I mean, the only time I can think of that I didn't feel like optimism was my friend. Well, I guess there's been more than one occasion. But basically when you get those disappointments, when you thought it was going to go one way and then it doesn't, and
Okay.
then you're so disappointed because you really didn't see it coming. You really were like, oh, I was really hoping for the best here. I really wasn't thinking about. So I think for me, um, I like to acknowledge the possibility that it might not go the way I want it to, and then still hope that it will.
How, knowing that you're optimistic like myself, how disappointed do you get when your plans fall through, or like something you were really hoping to happen doesn't happen? How do you get really sad about that?
I think I used to get a lot more sad about it. Um, I even remember like specifically talking about plans in my 20s. I just stopped making plans because I would get so upset when things didn't go the way that I was hoping they would. Um, I mean, obviously that changed again, but we as humans, we like to go from one extreme to another. So, I definitely think I used to get more disappointed than I do, but it all depends on what it is, you know? some events or people have more of an impact than others.
Yeah, absolutely. I think with anything, right? And
Yeah.
and also maybe does it reflect with some kind of inner child trauma that you have? Like did it trigger something that you're insecure about? Those will also be reasons why how you react to that.
Well, it's interesting that you brought that up because um, we always feel like rejection is very personal, but rejection actually isn't that personal. So even if I said to you, Julie, I can't be friends with you because you talk too much. That sounds very personal, right? Like that sounds like a personal attack. I'm telling you there's something wrong with you. But what I'm actually telling you is I can't tolerate how much you talk. How much you talk is probably fine for a million other people,
And
but
for
for
a podcast,
this and for a podcast.
imagine
This
Julie
is
talks
just an example, just so everyone knows. But for me personally, I just can't deal with it for whatever reason. Maybe there's already too much stimulation inside of me and I can't tolerate all that external stimulation. There's a lot of different reasons why I might feel that way that really have nothing to do with you.
I really like that. I really like the way you described that because I could have easily been like, okay, Alicia, don't be on a damn podcast with me. Jesus. Uh, and be like, is she really thinking that? She's using this as an example? No, but what the way you say it was like really clears a lot of other things in my mind when it becomes triggers for me. Because I get triggered from my older sister because we're such different personalities. And so when she goes about living her life a certain way, sometimes I'm like, I don't get it. And I now that you're saying I can't tolerate, right? Using the words that and trying to help me cope with this, I can't tolerate the way that my sister lives, but it has nothing to do with her because she likes the way she lives, or she likes the way she does something, right? Let's say cooks. She likes the way she cooks, but for me, I can't stand the way she cooks. But because my tolerance for that type of cooking is low, and I
Your
think that
particular taste buds can't handle it, but that doesn't mean other people wouldn't enjoy her food.
no, I like that a lot. So if you say, so if someone wanted to work on this, right, and say, okay, going back to the top of this whole thing, if I was dating somebody and this person um just wanted like chewed with his mouth open, ate with his
Mm,
mouth open, my tolerance of that was low. And if I was trying to change him, he goes, I it makes me taste the flavors of this food better when I'm eating this way. I enjoy eating this way. So I think you just need to accept, is my tolerance, can I change my own tolerance for people, for my romantic partner to eat with his mouth open, or can I not tolerate this? Am I able to accept this or not? And I think at the end of the day, you just need to answer that to yourself. You
right.
have to be, he's going to eat like this. He's voiced that he likes eating like that. And it's really hard for him not to eat like that. So instead of forcing him to eat in a way that he's sad, so now he doesn't want to eat in front of you. So maybe you guys are going to limit your dinner dates, um, or something like that, or he's going to eat so much faster, or he's just not going to be comfortable. He might not be happy then.
I have a perfect example. Um, I used to think that everybody had a temper and that everybody yelled sometimes, but it turns out that's not true. I've actually met people who don't have a temper and they don't ever yell and they hardly ever even get angry. That's like just part of who they are. But having worked with couples, I also learned that some people get really upset if they're fighting with their partner. And other people don't take it that seriously. They're like, oh, yeah, we argue every day. That's just like part of our thing. That's what we do. So if you're a person who never really gets angry and doesn't really feel comfortable around anger and doesn't like fighting at all, you cannot be with somebody who doesn't mind fighting, doesn't mind a good debate, doesn't mind disagreeing or confronting problems, or, passionately talking about things. Um, because that will destroy the relationship. And I've seen couples who don't necessarily, there's not one person who's like terribly wrong in the situation, but they just aren't a good match together. You just cannot tolerate this person's way of communicating. There's other couples where, like, I mean, I can't imagine this, just, and maybe it's like partially my line of work and partially just who I am, but there's a lot of women in particular who don't like to ask a lot of questions. They feel like it's rude, they feel like it's intrusive, they feel like it's none of their business or something. I always have a lot of questions, like, who are you talking to? Where are you going? What are you guys doing? Like, how was it? I have a lot of questions, and I've always been that way. I mean, I remember in fourth grade, my teacher commented on how many questions I had. So,
Yeah. My dad
uh,
every day, I if you, because I have a niece now, and you go, oh man, she's gonna ask a lot of questions, just like Julie. Julie still asks a lot of questions.
it's who we are, right? But if
Period.
you're the kind of person who finds that to be intrusive and rude, then you might not like me and Julie, like we might not be your cup of tea.
And I think not taking it personally is going to be your key to happiness. To just be like, can I accept this person? Can I not? And whatever. If we don't work, doesn't mean that you're less worthy of a relationship or less worthy of that relationship. It doesn't mean anything. And that's what people really, really, and it took me a long time to understand that. And it just means you guys just, the tolerance are not there, or it just square peg, round hole. The square is not more important. The round's not more important. They're just different shapes. And
Yeah.
since changing you into a round peg or trying to cut the square shape from the round, you can't just don't just go, just say, hey, we're different. That's okay. I can't tolerate this. So I'm gonna find somebody else. It doesn't mean we can't be friends, or doesn't mean I can't look at this relationship and I say, I learned so much from it. I'm so grateful for my lessons. Thank you. Whether we're friends or not, thank you, and walk away. And when people start understanding that without taking it personally, have nothing to do with their self-worth, I feel like there's gonna be so many more happy relationships out there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of times people are like, well, you have to compromise in relationships. Yeah, you do. But at the same time, you're not going to change another person. So if this feels intolerable to you, then it's probably best that you part ways.
Right.
And I think it is hard to date, okay? Because we've talked about that whole deserted island thing, and it is hard out there. And it's, you meet a lot of people that are definitely not for you, and it can be very discouraging. And so it can be hard to say, like, all right, I need to let this go, even though it's the best relationship I've ever had. It's the
Yeah.
best you've ever had so far. It doesn't mean it's the best you could ever have.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. I 100% agree.
So accepting what is and letting go is pretty much probably the summary.
Yeah. The summary, a healthy summary of this entire podcast, and like not trying to change anybody, just accepting, letting go, and not taking it personally.
Yeah. And not trying to control someone into being what you want, but just saying, okay, this is who you are and it's just not working. And that's okay. And you're not terrible for it. We just don't work well together. And that's okay.
And I like how you being host, you're in a completely different romantic relationship than I am, like a different form. You guys been together for a long time. You guys have children. You guys are, so it's like, and it's very different because I don't live with anybody. I'm dating, and things like that, right? I do a lot of short term, long term dating, all this stuff. But it's nice that we could find a lot of overlap, even though you're in a very different position. So to the listeners, that's what I wanted to convey. You don't have to be in any stage of a relationship to understand the fundamentals of just being happy.
Yeah. And I guess with that, we'll just say thanks for listening, and hopefully we'll have you tune in next time, guys. Thanks so much.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.